Hello and welcome to Batta Fast. मैं हूं Ahmer Naqvi. मेरे साथ उस्मान Samiuddin. And big development Batta Fast के लिए because आज से हमारी podcast के लिए एक नया घर है. There's a new home. And obviously YouTube के साथ पाकिस्तान में भी issues रह रहे थे और भी issues थे. तो Usman and I were like, okay, let's just start our own thing. And it was, it's really difficult to make a website for like old guys like us. So we've acquired this kind of homegrown website. Cricinfo, क्या नाम है यार ये? Cricinfo.
Cricinfo. Some people call it Cricinfo.
That's
Some
it.
people call it Cricinfo. It's a small, cottage industry.
Yeah, mom and pop kind of operation that
Yeah.
so we decided okay ठीक है, let's just do that. So thank you to all our Patreons who helped support this and we were able to pull this off. So anyways, exciting for all of us, exciting time for us. Obviously Batta Fast true fans, a lot of you pehli dafa might be watching this. If you don't speak Urdu or Hindi, don't worry. हम खुद बहुत बरकर हैं, हमारी बहुत अच्छी कोई उर्दू नहीं है कि बहुत देर तक हम बात कर रहे होंगे. So just context clues will get you there. But as long-term fans of Batta Fast will know, this is technically our World Cup final review episode.
the long-awaited. That's the football World Cup final.
Yeah,
Just
and
specify,
again,
please.
guys, वही होता है कि more money, more problems. कि our football podcast were doing really well, and then obviously FIFA got involved, or Gianni Infantino wanted to come on the show, and we're like, bro, no, our integrity. And he was
That's
just
why we
like,
moved.
you guys are blowing up. You're a big podcast. तो खैर हमने उसको मना कर दिया और वो अगेन लीगल मसले मसाइल चलते रहे. तो now we're back and we don't want to discuss the World Cup finals. So let's talk about something less depressing, Usman. Pakistan versus England.
I was gonna say that by coming on Cricinfo, we were thinking of maybe changing the name to Gham Hour to really capture
Yes.
like Pakistan cricket at this time. Gham Hour. Do we need to explain Gham Hour? No, I don't think we do. I don't think we do need to explain Gham Hour. I think
Agar if you don't understand Gham Hour for whatever reason, you should look up hashtag GHAMHOUR Gham Hour on Twitter or Instagram. I'm sure it's there as well. So that will convey it better than anything. जो मैं या वो समझा सके. But yeah, it's not just Gham Hour मगर उस्मान के अब जैसे मैं इस पे
Gham
यही सोच
Zamana.
रहा था कि यस क्योंकि बट्टा फास्ट को अब कोई 2-2.5 साल हो चुके हैं. सही है. उस वक्त से पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट तो फुल जवाल पलीद हालात पे. उसके अलावा लाइक मुझे क्रिकेट पे प्रोफेशनली लिखते हुए अब कोई 15 साल हो चुके हैं. वो भी लानत ममानत में ही घुस रहे. आई थिंक 15 से भी ज्यादा हो गए आई गेस. बट फॉर यू अगेन लाइक आई डोंट नो
I
25.
talk in decades only. I deal in
Yeah,
decades,
exactly, right?
not
तो
centuries anymore.
क्या मतलब बड़ा ही मुश्किल हो गया है कि हर दफा कोई नया एंगल लाया जाए कि अच्छा यार तो इसलिए इसलिए हमारी टीम हार रही है. बट या आई वुड डिफर टू यू माय गुरु माय मेंटोर कि कैसे किस एंगल से हम शुरू करें गुफ्तगू को.
I think the big thing on this tour, and we're talking Pakistan cricket, we're talking Pakistan cricket's tour of England, where they've lost the first test in slightly less embarrassing fashion than Australia lost their first test to Bangladesh, perhaps. Maybe not. Bangladesh are actually a good side.
Let's get this tangent out of the way. Let's get this tangent out of the way. What मतलब ये देखें कि एकदम से हुआ और फूल आ गए फ्रेम में ना कि इतना खुशी का समय है कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया को हमने अपनी जिंदगी में नॉट जस्ट इट्स नॉट लाइक जैसे आई थिंक एक अर्ली 2000s में इंडिया लाइक सही चाइना माल इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया टीम को हराया था. इट हैड द रॉन्ग वॉटसन ब्रदर शेन वॉटसन की जगह दूसरा कौन सा
No, what are you talking about? It had Andy Bickle.
इट हैड वन ऑफ
And
किसी का गलत भाई था, लाइक जैसे या तो उसका था या वो जो
was it Brett
उन
Lee's brother Shane Lee?
yes, Shane Lee, that's what I'm thinking. It was Shane Lee was in
I'm not
it.
100% sure, but did he
I
play in that
feel
series? He
basically
may have
point मेरा
played
ये
that
था कि
series.
ये इन्होंने like one of the goat Australian batting bowling attacks के खिलाफ ये मैच जीता है, and like Steve Smith was batting, Travis Head was
Yeah.
there, like yes, the Australian team is a bit of decline,
I
but
mean,
oof.
the best way to look at it is that what's that stat that like 65% of Pakistan's population is under 30? That means like 65 to maybe 70, who knows? Maybe 65 to 70% of Pakistan's population was not alive the last time Pakistan won a test match in Australia. That
Yeah,
basically is. So
insane.
anyway, moving on from that, I think we're how many
Yeah, or
years
you know
now?
something crazy? Bangladesh won their third test match in
Yes.
Australia.
Yes.
The
They've
only
only
other
played two
teams to
before
do
this.
that are England and South Africa in the
Yeah.
freaking 19th century. मतलब वो उस वक्त
It's
तो
two
ऑस्ट्रेलिया
centuries
कोई
ago.
तरह मुल्क नहीं था यार dude.
It's 2 centuries ago.
Unbelievable. बहुत
So
खुशी हुई.
anyway, so we look at this Pakistan. So the thing that has got my attention on this tour so far is like this narrative, like that English press has gone on about this being like the worst Pakistan side ever, and people have taken like real proper offense to this, as you would expect. On social media, people have gone absolutely ballistic over this. That what do I? It's not the worst. England themselves look at you. You have a drinking problem. Blah, all this. Objectively, I was saying, I reckon, I don't like saying things like, the worst side or whatever, but I think I can only think of a couple of other sides that have gone to England in Pakistan's entire history, actually, that have been as weak as this one. Let's say weak. I don't say worst. I say as weak as this one. I would say probably 62, which is, of course, the first famously epic bad tour of Pakistan, like the one of those operatic disasters that Pakistan's become famous for, on a tour
I
that
I
everything.
have no idea. मुझे
So
barely कोई
62,
idea है, तो please let's yeah give us.
Javed Barki was
Hmm.
captain. He was not supposed to be captain. He was, they overlooked like Hanif and Imtiaz Ahmed and all, and they made Javed Barki captain. And Javed Barki was supposed to be the original. He's kind of the original Parchi pick, people would say, because his father was very influential in the government at the time. Whatever, he was actually a decent player. By the way, he was averaging over 50 when they picked him. He was young, but he was averaging over 50 when they picked him. So he was the captain. Hasib Hassan, poor marhoom late Hasib Hassan, was sent back from the tour because he used to chuck. He was this like magical off spinner, but they said that he chucked. And at that time, chucking was moral peak and all.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were
yeah.
missing bowlers. They had to call Fazil Mahmood, like a proper scorned and spurned diva, for that last test. And he came and he bowled like 60 overs or something, just to show them that he was still fit. Not very good, but still fit and effective. So, there was all this kind of. So that was like the first template
Or
Pakistan
scoreline.
tour in which everything goes wrong. That was one of those tours. So that was one,
Scoreline,
and they lost
scoreline of that tour.
4-0. 4-0 out of 5 tests. The fifth test would have been a loss, but it was rained out. Thank God for rain that summer or whatever. So that was one. 78, 2-0, England won when Pakistan came here. That, like, the main, if I give you this sentence, then all will become clear. That was Pakistan without its Packer stars. So there was no Imran, there was no Mushtaq Mohammed, there was no Asif. All these guys missing. Wasim Bari was captain. Had a great tour himself, did not let go a single bye in the entire test series. 3 tests, did not let go a single bye. Didn't help much. Pakistan lost 2-0. I can't even remember the bowlers who played in that. And then I think this
अच्छा एक
is,
दफा फिर से for let's Packer stars essentially the for younger people is kind of like saying कि अगर आपकी टीम है और पाकिस्तान में obviously ये नहीं हो सकता, अगर दुनिया की कोई और टीम है और उसके जो भी खिलाड़ी जो आईपीएल खेलते हैं आप उन्हें निकाल दें और फिर टीम छोड़ें और वो
yeah,
टीम खेलने जा रही है. That's essentially what was
yeah,
happening when Kerry Packer had launched the World Series in Australia. It was like this big essentially franchise cricket. A lot of national players who signed up for that, the boards initially refused to pick them for the national team. So Pakistan sent out what was essentially a second
yeah,
or second 11 that goes there. So
essentially, yeah,
essentially a weak team, which उस जमाने की पाकिस्तान की bench strength की reflective नहीं थी, but yeah, it had a terrible tour.
yeah. And then after that, I think we're here. I mean, okay, My take on Headingley also is that yes, a weak Pakistan side missing Babar Azam, who remains their best batter. I think their most consistent batter. But I think it was a weak team that probably had its worst game. It had like the absolute horror game that you don't want. So they dropped catches, their batters got out playing bad shots, their bowlers. I still maintain, three bowlers that they picked, the three fast bowlers that they picked for the test match: Khurram Shahzad, Mohammad Ali, Mohammad Abbas. In the conditions that they got at Headingley and the kind of surface that they got, they're probably your best bowlers for that kind of surface. They're exactly the kind of like dibbly dobblers who are 75 to 83 miles per hour, and you expect them to land on a spot. So out of the three, only Abbas actually kind of bowled the way he should have bowled on that surface. Khurram Shahzad bowled a couple of absolute peaches, but mixed it up with a couple of absolute. What's the opposite of a peach in fruit terms, which is terrible? I don't know. Ahmer, this is your strength. What is
I'm not the fruit expert. अगर मैं बनने लगा तो वो लोग
Karela?
बड़ा मजाक
He
उड़ाएंगे.
bowled
Sure,
three
I'll
Karelas along with three peaches every over. How's that?
yeah,
Bitter
yeah.
gourd, guys. Bitter gourd. So he bowled three terrible ones for every three deliveries that were Jaffas. And Mohammad Ali was kind of the same as well, in that there was a lot of
Yeah.
dross bowled with a lot of good deliveries. And if you think, these guys are both, and we'll come to this point, these guys are both experienced domestic bowlers. So it's not like they're coming here like the problem would have been with Shaheen or Naseem. They're not coming with a lack of bowling in long form cricket. They have the overs and hours under their belt, and you would expect them to be able to put together 5 good overs in a 6-over spell, which they didn't. So I would say that was an ordinary. It was not a great attack, but they had a really terrible outing. And the fact that in Headingley on that surface, sorry, I'm going on a bit, but this is my last point. The fact that on that surface, it was their slow left arm spinner who took a 5-for and actually bowled the best out of all of them, Ali Osman. That is a pretty damning indictment of the kind of game that those three had. 2, Abbas had a good game.
So बहुत comprehensive overview of like the history of Pakistani teams. And वही मैं सोच रहा था कि जब ये especially I think Shildberry specifically said worst team in 50 years, and those 50 years essentially cover a chunk of not the chunk, it is the most of it is covered by the golden era of Pakistan cricket. तो उस पे इट्स नॉट रियली फेयर बेचारों के साथ कि आप कंपेयर कर रहे हैं विद द एब्सोल्यूट पीक, नंबर 1. और नंबर 2 के आई थिंक पाकिस्तान टीम को अगर ये आई एम लाइक आई डोंट वांट टू से Shildberry has been caught up by SEO and algorithms and all of that. Like,
he's not.
but,
He's not.
But this sort of debate और ये जो takes हैं जो स्टुअर्ट ब्रॉड की है जिसके भी है like this the take culture कि अब आपको कोई कुछ फेंकना है सोशल मीडिया पे या पॉडकास्ट पे या whatever and like maybe even if you do it nuance, it gets chopped up as a tweet or as a headline or as a clip वगैरह वगैरह. Because I think ये कहना कि the worst Pakistani side, the beauty that Pakistan brings to cricket and sports is that every Pakistan team is potentially the worst and weakest Pakistani side to ever play. And ये मतलब क्या like I'm very lucky to watch Pakistan win multiple series in England. All of those teams were potential of the worst day of cricket you'll ever see in your life. Like कि अभी जैसे वो जब सलमान अली आगा ने कैच ड्रॉप किया ब्रुक का और फिर उसको खून भी निकल रहा था और फिर like he also kicks the thing and sticks his tongue out and like हर ब्लॉग और पॉडकास्ट पे उस तस्वीर जो
badly fitting sweater also.
Yeah. And वो badly fitting sweater slip पे catch drop होना, the slip fielder then drawing blood and gingerly walking off holding that finger in England, ये एक मेरी मतलब एक ऐसा डेजा वू है, ये मैं इतनी दफा देख चुका हूँ कि या कि मतलब ना जब मैं देख रहा था ना तो मेरे साथ मुख्तलिफ उम्र के अहमर और बैठे हुए थे and we were all like we all connected in this moment because we've seen this a million billion times, like
the space and time continuum.
Yeah, like कि अभी जैसे Wasim Wakar and Wasim Wakar will they even said this on our show they would just like kill time on in English test matches until the ball got old, bowling
Yeah.
absolute like battareen किस्म की bowling.
Yeah.
And obviously it helped that this was a terrible England side in the 90s anyways, but those you see those matches again in Pakistan will go long stretches with an all-time GOAT 11 playing terrible cricket.
Yeah.
ये अगर
Yeah.
आपकी तवक्को है कि पाकिस्तान टेरिबल क्रिकेट नहीं खेल रही है तो you're watching the wrong
I
sport,
mean,
buddy.
it is like I appreciate what Shil was saying, and definitely the sentiment with which he said it, because he's been a sympathetic observer of Pakistan cricket over the years. But I think we also forget, like, do you remember the 2002 team that lost to Australia, bowled out for 59 and 53 in Sharjah on
Yeah.
like a blameless deck? So we've got to span those. 2010, by the way, 2010 tour to England was a terrible side. Was genuinely
Not
a
just
terrible side.
so this is what I was going to come to, right? 2010 on paper you can argue is a worse side maybe or just as bad, and morally it's also like you know, what's up, yaar?
Yeah,
Like I
morally
mean,
there's
no one is in jail.
there's no competition. That ends
Yeah,
up
but
with, yeah, that
I
ends up
mean,
with three
no,
players in
we've got,
jail.
but
So
there's a very simple data, right? Like, what is the strike rate of people going to jail? At like 2010, it's around like 33%.
but also
If that
2010 was only like they won a test. Did they win? Yes, they won a test.
they beat
Uh,
Australia, bro, क्या बात कर रहे
yes,
भाई?
they beat Australia.
ऑस्ट्रेलिया को टेस्ट
But the
हराया था.
only, like, the redeeming factor of that was just the two guys, Asif and Ahmer, right? Otherwise, the batting was a mess. They had, if
Not
you
just
remember,
the
just before that, they had banned 8 or 9 players. Remember, after the Australia tour, Yunus Khan was gone, Mohammad Yusuf was gone, Shoaib Malik was gone. Everybody who was anybody was out of the side for totally arbitrary reasons.
नहीं और एक सेकेंड उस स्टुअर्ट के बारे में हम यही कहते हैं ना कि भाई अच्छा चलो बॉलर तो अच्छे थे उसमें. स्टुअर्ट ब्रॉड ने लॉर्ड्स पे डबल सेंचुरी मारी थी.
Not he didn't
डबल
even hit
सेंचुरी
160.
थी.
He went 160. He went
166
160,
या
yeah.
कुछ थे यार.
And
but
from like nothing
8
for 6 or something, or nothing for,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they were nothing down for 6.
तो वो मेरे कहने
Yeah,
का ही मतलब था कि यार ये क्या आप क्या क्या
perspective, I think, is needed.
किस तरीके से रेट कर सकते हैं वर्स्ट पाकिस्तानी साइड को, बिकॉज आप जो भी whatever prism you want to look at it, Pakistan setting the lowest, like this is subterranean stuff. Like I don't want
It's
you
a
know
high bar to get
yes
the lowest, right? We're
yeah, I
talking a
don't want
very high
lazy
bar to
takes
get
here. I don't want lazy takes. Like, give me something deeper. Because, like, weakest in 50 years, like, the first response is, well, no one's in jail, Shell. So, there goes your argument. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
I can't argue with that. Nobody ended up in
the,
jail.
the umpire didn't make you lose a test, which was the first time in the history of like 140 years that
The
a test was
forfeit,
lost
yeah,
that
the
way.
forfeit, yeah. I mean,
Hello.
okay, but they have also.
Please, the coup de grace. Mohammad Hafiz isn't like threatening the life of an elderly lady by taking selfies with her during a COVID bubble, which he did in the 2020 tour.
I did not even remember that.
Come on, dude.
Our memories are so short. Our
So,
memories are so
मतलब कि आप कहाँ आ रहे हैं यार? इस टीम में किसी ने कोविड बबल तोड़ा है? मतलब that
I mean,
उस
they're all
समर
like
में इंग्लैंड में
समझदार लोग हैं.
उस समर में इंग्लैंड में बोरिस जॉनसन कोविड का बबल तोड़ रहा था और मोहम्मद हफीज. That's the level. How are
And none
you?
of that has happened so far.
This team. Come
None of
on,
that has
man.
happened
Like
so far.
it's. I would, and I think that's this to kind of bring it back to cricket a little bit. We were discussing this before the start of recording this. Okay, the last three, if you include this one, the last three touring sides from Pakistan to England, वो जो गई हैं उन सबके more or less यही हालात थे और a combination, like for example 2018 में पहले टेस्ट में Abbas goes nuts and it's enough for Pakistan, and then England
900
thrashed them in the second test. um,
Yeah.
2020 में I think दो मैचेस में बारिश हो गई थी, वरना
Mhm.
I think like Crawley made a lot of
Headingley, by the
runs
way,
and
and that this is like a niche nerdy kind of thing, but and it maybe doesn't have that much significance. But Headingley is not a great ground for Pakistani teams generally. I know the '87 win was at Headingley, and famous innings win that got them the series win. But generally, Headingley's old school conditions of like swing and seam have always worked against
yeah,
Pakistan. And,
this
and and even before the test, by the way, even before the test, I remember being on a podcast where uh, somebody said that who in the English attack will be like the main threat, and I don't often get this kind of stuff right. In fact, I never get this. My strike rate on this stuff is like zero. It's like Babar in a T20 circa 2021 or something. But that's mean. I'm sorry. But uh, I said that it has to be Ollie Robinson, right? It has to be Ollie Robinson because he's exactly the kind of low pace, but a little bit of bounce and a lot of movement and just accurate at your. So he's the kind of bowler who would always, and I remember in '92 there was Neil Mallender who became an umpire and became a better umpire than he was a test bowler. He played 2 tests in his life, I think, and in one of them he took 8 wickets, and that was against Pakistan
yeah,
in
Malali
1992. No,
96 I
Mulali
think
didn't take. No,
Malali.
no. Yeah, I don't think they. I don't. I think Pakistan did they win? I forget. No, it's Lords and Oval that they won at in '96, but
So
they didn't win. England didn't win at Headingley.
मैं इस पे वापस एक ये just the previous thing Headingley वाली बात पे like I put that on the group as well. Pakistan ने England has been going to England for 70 years. Outside London has 3 wins in 22, I guess now 23 attempts.
Yes, that's the key
Over
thing.
all that time. All the other wins are in London at
In London,
Lords or
yeah.
the Oval. Or, it's not like the Lords or Oval ki bahut similar pitches or whatever, but whatever the reason
No,
is,
not at all.
and so that's one of those things कि मतलब like you can talk about a lot of things but like you can go back and Pakistani teams have always struggled with the exact I think वही बात जो बिल्कुल सही की थी कि it was a weak team having its worst day क्योंकि पाकिस्तानी टीम्स हमेशा जिस तरीके से इस टीम ने बुरा खेला है वैसे ही बुरा खेलती हैं मतलब whenever they've
Yes,
played badly
exactly.
in England this is how
2006
they play.
also, by the way. 2006 also they
Yeah,
struggled.
2006 is actually like a humiliating series
Yes.
because like Yusuf scoring runs, so it's like okay, but
Yusuf
like
scoring like Bradman runs.
yeah,
Literally
but
like
England
Bradman
was
runs.
still England मतलब के करीब मतलब कि अगर जैसे बॉक्सिंग मैच होता तो वो पहले राउंड में खत्म कर देते इतना बुरा
Yeah.
तबाह कर रहा
Yeah,
था
yeah.
पाकिस्तान को so
In
like
fact, I want to see what
they
the score from the 2006 Headingley test was. I think it might have even been worse than this. I will check. By the way, in '96 they drew at Headingley, but England probably had the better of that draw. So at Headingley.
yeah I think wait like generally if I remember even like Headingley and Edgbaston both have some really famous Pakistani moments but they drown out the fact कि उस पे उन grounds पे बहुत बुरे test results हैं by and large.
I'm trying to find. Okay, here we go. So they lost in Manchester and Lords. Oh no, Lords they drew, of course, which was Moyo's amazing double hundred, which saved it. They lost by an innings. Aha, Leeds. Here we go. Also in Leeds, actually, they lost badly, but they were bowled out for 150. So on a pitch that saw scores of 515, 538, then 345, Pakistan were bowled out for 155 in their final innings to lose by 167, which is like an old school Pakistan defeat, right?
Classic.
It's like the classic Pakistan defeat, like fourth innings implosion.
बेसिकली वही है कि अगर पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट को एंड आई थिंक दिस इज समथिंग बोथ ऑफ अस हैव बीन राइटर्स एंड एडिटर्स एटसेट्रा अगर आप उसको ये क्रिकेट के एनालिसिस को साइड पे छोड़ दें और जस्ट एक नैरेटिव एनालिसिस पे लेना तो एक वही होता है कि अगर आपने एक सर्टेन स्ट्रक्चर सेटअप कर दिया है तब वो नैरेटिव एक ही जगह जा सकता है और पाकिस्तान के साथ वही होता है कि जैसे अब इस मैच को कोई और टीम हार नहीं सकती फ्लैट फट्टा पिच पे आधा घंटा बैटिंग करनी है अगेंस्ट लाइक उनके 2 खिलाड़ी हैं बेचारे जो इंजर्ड हैं
8 wickets in hand.
हाँ और अंपायर बिके हुए हैं और
and they lose them all with time to spare.
And you know that, and as a like whatever analyst, and you can bring all the greatest coaches in the world, and they'll do a million things. But if you're a fan who's watched Pakistan enough times, you exactly know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen, and what's
Yeah,
amazing is that they still do it in creative and interesting ways.
in new and
But
creative ways. It's like
अभी
telling
कुछ
the
दिनों
story
पहले
in new ways.
ये वेस्ट इंडीज में खेल रहे थे, एंड they've like dominated this, they've scored a lot of runs, और फिर एक बंदा जो बेचारा मतलब उसको थोड़ी बहुत बॉलिंग कराते थे, he wasn't really thinking, like, you know, it kind of was
Justin
establishing himself as a more of a batter,
Graves.
yeah. And
5 wicket
destroys
maidens in a
Pakistan.
row.
और ये
World
वही था कि
records.
उस वक्त जो है, जो आप नाम लेना शुरू करें तो ऐसे कोई 7,000 थे, लाइक मैं यही सोच रहा था कि अभी जब ये यू कम अक्रॉस कि इंग्लैंड को किसको कप्तान बनाना चाहिए, किसको खिलाना चाहिए, ओवर द लास्ट कपल ऑफ मंथ्स व्हेन ऑल ऑफ द चेंज वाज हैपनिंग इन इंग्लिश क्रिकेट, एंड जस्ट एज यू वर सेइंग अबाउट ऑली रॉबिन्सन, मेरे दिमाग में यही था कि लाइक इफ यू वांट टू हैव एनीवन डू अ कमबैक, choose, like, get that against Pakistan. The only problem is that if some random is having their greatest match against Pakistan, that person is not cut out for international cricket. Like that's
Yeah, that's basically the bottom line. That's basically the bottom
that's
line
like
in this.
it is a very fool's
But
gold
you know what?
proposition.
One of the like, so the template of defeat. Yes, we know second innings they collapsed and it was all over by an innings. But the truly like mind-boggling fact that Daniel pulled out actually from this test was that in the first innings they were bowled out for 179, 171, 179, one of the two they were bowled out for, and that was this is I don't know if you came across this stat. This is crazy. It was the first time in a decade that they had been bowled out for less than 200 in the first innings of a test match. I found that
Wow.
like absolutely insane. I was like, oh my god. So they've
In the
made low
first
totals.
innings, as in like Pakistan ki first innings, or just
Yeah,
the
Pakistan's
first
first innings.
innings?
Pakistan's first innings. First time in a decade that they have been bowled out for less than 200. I was absolutely shocked because it's kind of baked into our systems that Pakistan's batting, it will have its bad days. But actually, if you think back now, and you maybe not recall all the matches, but you can kind of sense that yes, actually the way they have been losing matches is that they just haven't lasted long enough into a test match. So they fought for the first 2 days maybe, but third, fourth days when they kind of start falling apart.
देखिए ये अगेन एक ना वही है कि जो मतलब जैसे इसमें बात होती है बहुत सारे मुख्तलिफ फ़िलासफ़ीज़ में, सूफ़ीज़्म में भी बात होती है कि जो असली सच होता है ना तो उसको छुपाया जाता है, बिकॉज़ वो सब हैंडल नहीं कर सकते। चलें अगर लोग सेक्युलर कुछ चाहते हैं तो मैट्रिक्स में भी देख लें कि हर बंदे को नहीं आप मॉर्फियस कह देता है कि आ जाओ ब्रो हमारी साइड पे आ जाओ। सच को हैंडल करने के लिए भी ना एक आपको एक कैफियत चाहिए थी। अब जैसे दानियाल की गलती नहीं है, बट उसने एक रैंडम नंबर चुन लिया कि भाई 200 से नीचे, एंड 200 इज दिस रियली प्लीजिंग नंबर, सो इट काइंड ऑफ फूल्स द माइंड इनटू थिंकिंग लाइक दिस इज important. I can bet my life that like out of that list there's like 90 of them where Pakistan was like 200 for 1, 204 all out. Like, 195 for 3,
Yeah,
207 all out, like.
I'm not arguing. I'm not going to
But
argue
I
against
think,
that.
I mean, actually, to be serious, I think it also makes sense to me because primarily the way है कि it's not so much that they can't make runs, it's the way that they'll collapse, it's the way that
Yeah,
they'll have
yeah, that's
mental issues.
actually and there was that crazy stat that came out of the West Indies series that their average for the first 50 overs of an innings is like the top in the world.
Yeah.
Their
Yes,
runs per wicket
exactly.
average is the top, but their average for everything after 50 is like if there's a bottom tier beyond the 12 full members and beyond like the 20 associate members, 8 of whom don't play test cricket, they are in that bucket right now. Like you could literally Pakistan could bat. How about this? Like Pakistan bats for 50 overs and then they bring in like I don't know Netherlands to play out the next like 50 or
Anyone
Ireland
किसी को भी
or
खिला क्योंकि देखिए इस पे
anyone at
just
this stage.
coming back to this, like, so एक again American sports में अक्सर यूज करते हैं in like the NFL in particular, which is like a really ticky tacky sport. There's a lot of ways to get fouls in it. And if a team starts doing a lot of fouls, one of the things they'll always say is, oh, that's a sign of bad coaching because, these are like, for whatever reason, like एक repetitive चीज़ है, ये नहीं करना चाहिए. Cricket में इसकी एक मिसाल है, if a bowling attack keeps bowling no balls a lot, So you're like, okay, at some level, this is a coaching issue because why are all of them bowling no balls, etc. And I think this is a very nebulous thing. It's very hard to kind of definitively say that this is a coaching problem or a captaincy problem or X, Y, Z. But you see that in the rare instances when Pakistan has like a good fielding coach like Steve Rickson, or has a strong captain like Imran or Misbah, or various small stints for other captains, or when some captains are having their good run. All of those Pakistani teams are very similar in the sense that they're taking their catches, they're engaged in
Yeah.
the field, they're running better, etc. etc. और जब ये खराब हरकतें कर रहे होते हैं तो वही ये collapses वही बचपन से देखते आ रहे हैं, poor fielding
Yeah.
बचपन से देखते आ रहे हैं, like those are recurring issues with, again, like kind of leadership and kind of team cohesion XYZ. और वो issues वही होता है कि आप एटलीस्ट इन पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट एंड लॉट ऑफ अदर टीम्स आई एम श्योर एज वेल, बट लाइक यू कैन, आप जितने भी अच्छे खिलाड़ी खड़े करते हैं, there is no guarantee that you'll get a good team, and for that reason, like that Misbah era is such a fascinating laboratory experiment, because that's a really weak team in all, like on paper, but we hai कि they had a really clear idea of
Yeah.
how to play test cricket
They
and
had
they played
stability,
it
right?
that way.
Like
Yes. और उसमें वही
Misbah
था
was
कि वो they
captain,
were
and it was his vision. And they had, I'm trying to think of who the coaches were. I know they had like Mohsin Khan for the greatest result of that era, but and Watmore for a
they
little
had
bit,
Vakar, so they
and
had
then they had
Vakar for
Vakar.
like
Yeah.
Vakar twice, I think Shuru mein, and then there's the Mohsin
Yes.
Hasan Khan era, and then he comes back sometime later as well, and beach mein koi
Yeah.
aur tha.
But they had like in the team they had
Oh,
stability, right? They had
and then
like
they
they
had
knew their
Mickey later as
bowlers,
well.
and they had Mickey later, but they knew their bowlers, they knew their middle order. The openers were a problem, but that's like a lifelong thing. That's a perma state. But they knew their middle order, they knew their bowlers roughly, like spinners, they knew they rotated the
इवन
fast
मतलब तो
bowlers.
वही था उस टीम में बॉलर से ज्यादा दे न्यू हाउ दे वांटेड टू बोल, तो
Yes,
उसमें
exactly,
वही था कि
exactly.
जब 2016 में वो टीम इंग्लैंड भी आती है, इट्स दे मेक दैट फार्मूला वर्क देयर एज वेल,
Yeah,
क्योंकि इवन आमिर बाइज इनटू, और
yeah.
how we want to look at it, but Ahmer is bowling that kind of negative
Yeah, yeah.
bowling.
The
Rahat
dry
is doing
line,
that.
the dry line,
Yes,
basically.
precisely. और उसमें
Yeah.
वही था कि अजमल निकला तो यासिर आया, and
Yasir
actually it's
came, yeah.
the auxiliary spinner that gives you an idea कि Zulfikar Babar and Abdul Rahman are not likely expected to make these huge careers. Like अभी आप साजिद और नुमान की जितनी भी बात कर रहे हैं, वो pitches और very are made for their bowling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Those
yeah.
guys were not. So कहने का मतलब सिर्फ यही है कि ये, again, like this is like Pakistani teams that are in a flux or in a chaotic situation often tend to play like this, regardless of kitni, how good
Yes.
they may or may not be in terms of their personnel.
Yeah.
And in that way, I think that's why a lot of the Pakistanis are also reacting, being like, hey, hang on, we've always been able to be this shit. Like, why why is this time being singled out? Like, कि ये क्या हो रहा है यार, ये हर इतनी बदतमीजी क्यों हो रही है, मतलब पिछली पिछली दो तीन टीमें भी खराब थी, इसको क्या इसको क्या.
What's so different this time? Also, look, we've got like I said, like we both agree, I think, an ordinary team having its worst test at Headingley, which is not an outlier for Pakistan. Like Headingley is not a great ground for them. We've established this. 87 was the outlier. Otherwise, at Headingley they don't taste success ever. We're now coming into like London territory, which is where they have been better. They've won their last 3 tests, I think, in London. They win all their tests. Well, I mean, the only tests they've won in England mostly have been in London. And so we've got like this next test coming up starts on Thursday, and there's going to be changes. I think changes. The Honge's team may definitely Babar.
यही
I
बात करते
think,
हैं. Is
yeah.
Babar fit to play? I think that's the big question.
So we're
That's the
going to
biggest
know.
question.
Yeah, I think we're going to know over the next couple of days whether Babar is fit to play. It sounded like the noises coming out from the Pakistan camp, very kind of quiet noises coming out today, were that he is going to be fit. I was skeptical after the first test. You pull out with a finger injury, then usually you kind of suspect that it's a fracture, which means he might miss more. So fitness. The sounds are that he will play. Shan Masood is, I think, fit. He was fit anyway in the first test. What am I saying? Shan Masood was anyway fit. He'll be there. I would think that Ubaid Shah would come in for one of the pacers, and I would guess that it would be Khurram Shahzad, because Khurram Shahzad, I think, my sense is that he struggles in like test matches for fitness. He's had a number of injuries anyway in his short career, and I think he struggles with his like second and third spells. His speeds fall off and stuff. Although like the few wickets he took were absolute jaffas at Headingley. Like, so there is that potential. So but I do think Ubaid will come back in. Babar comes back in. I hope they don't move Abdullah Shafiq back to open to kind of make space for Babar, because I quite like he's just come back after being out of the wilderness. He has scored some runs. Please let him be. But of course, it's not going to happen.
Um, I, I don't want to jinx anyone out there, but I
Then
think ये
don't say
बात बिल्कुल.
anything.
Yeah,
Then
exactly right.
maintain
I was just
silence
like,
for the
back
next
and
few
let's
minutes.
let's skip this part. But I think that's the thing with the Barber injury, that unless it was some kind of like bruising or something, there's really no other scenario in which you can anticipate a return. There's really no other scenario in which there was an injury serious enough to miss a test that he can now return to in such a short period of time, which is essentially
Yeah,
like, I think,
yeah.
a week, 10 days later. Um, and I think more than the batting, it's also really affecting the captaincy, because abhi wahi tha कि
Mm,
Salman Ali Agha was kind of just laughing like, bro, I really don't want to do this.
I'm done.
And
I'm
yeah,
done with
matlab, and
captaincy.
like, so maybe like I was thinking about this, like maybe my very first job uh at a news channel, at some point my boss went away to work on some other project for several months. And it was my first year at my first job, and they made me like in charge of like making sure that whatever this every hour the stories that I did, so like all the BS. And obviously I had no authority and no like money or whatever, and it was just like a horrible situation to be in, because मतलब मुझे कोई ये authority नहीं थी कि भाई तुम tell us what you want the agenda to be
Mm,
editorially. It was
mm.
just like, make sure the headlines are ready, make sure this is that,
Make
that.
sure there's no
Or like,
typos on
yeah,
screen.
exactly. Like you can only mess up. Like there's really no kind of, and that's the Salman Ali Agha situation, right? Ki you
Yeah.
just, it's not like you're going to now be the permanent captain or something. You're a stand-in. The team is doing really badly, even with Babar there. Like जो कुछ भी मतलब वही है. आज I was reading, it was a strange sentence, but basically के Chelsea, the football club, they've acknowledged when they hired Xavi Alonso that they misunderstood the importance of aura in their previous two hirings, where they'd gone with like Graham Potter and Liam Rosenor, who were both kind of like known for being like kind of analytic, nerdy guys, but not.
Misunderstood the importance of aura.
Yeah, that or misunderstood or क्या कहते हैं, underestimated. That I forget the
Underestimated. Yeah.
exact. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forget the, but
Underestimated.
like basically, and
Wow.
it was a funny thing, but like I don't think it's wrong. Like definitely अगर कोई leader है, so people want to feel like, okay, this person has earned this
Yeah.
position, and that's why
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
have the authority to lead me. And in that sense, Babar obviously being the best batter, whether लोगों को ये लगता है नहीं लगता है, but that's what the perception
Yeah.
is. In that way, it gives him some kind of authority, which I feel that's one of those biggest things with this team. It kind of is listless, like when वही होता है कि when the bowlers are kind of doing poorly, that's really when some kind of captaincy, some kind of authority.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
मैं ये सब कह रहा हूँ being 100% aware of Babar's limitations as a captain, his almost trademark tendency to let sessions drift,
Mm.
not make the right changes, XYZ. But I feel right now this is why the team is having these bad kind of results, that it is students on a field trip where like the adults have passed out or something. So they're just
But
like,
okay.
not all of
So
them want to create trouble, but it's going to not be good.
I think, yeah, what you're saying is, and it's true, it's completely true, is that basically in Pakistan, more than like, I feel it's a more pressing factor in Pakistani cricket, is that the captain must be performing. Like so
Mm.
Misbah, when he was made captain, nobody wanted him to be captain. Nobody could have thought in their wildest dreams that he would be captain of the Pakistan Test side. But he cemented his position just by dint and by weight of runs. So no matter how bad his captaincy was, no matter how reactive he was initially, no matter how maybe slow he was in picking up things, in his first 6 or 7 tests, he scored like 6 or 7 50s and ended that run with 100 as well. So that cemented his spot. And throughout his captaincy, his batting rarely was so poor that you had to kind of think of leaving him out of the side, which has not always been the way with Pakistani captain. And you look at all the most successful Pakistani captains, apart from I would say Hafiz Kardar, the very first one, and that was different era and a very different challenge that he faced. But you look at all the successful captains Pakistan have had, like obviously Imran, Wasim in his later phases, Waqar in some phases, but then Inzi, another clear one, Javed, then Misbah, they have all performed as in their primary roles primarily. Even before the captaincy, they have made sure that they're performing in their primary roles, which is whether it's a batter, all rounder, or whatever. And and so the portents in that sense are okay because I think there's enough of a sample size now with Babar's career that he has batted better when he has been captain. Test matches, I'm saying he's batted better. He averages like 53 or something. Some people will say, yeah, those were Ramiz's flat pitches or whatever. But the guy scored runs in different places, in some difficult conditions, some easier conditions. That's what you get. As that's not your choice where you play and what pitches you play on so much. I think the portents in that sense are good. In that, if he can keep performing in Pakistan right now, I would argue as much as a win they could do with Babar scoring runs again for them and being the batter that we all thought he would be from 2018 onwards to however when he 2021 2022 when he hasn't scored 100 since the end of 2022, yeah, so around that time. And I think it would be as important for him to come out and score 100 at Lords, as captain, score 100 at Lords. Pakistan lose, okay, that's fine. They're maybe not the team right now that can beat England, even the single side. But I think for him to score runs and to feel secure as a captain, and thus to feel secure as a batter, is probably of greater importance in the slightly long term or medium term than anything else right now. So it would be good for him to be back and to build on the form that he showed over the last 3 or 4 test matches, where he's got 350s, he's got 450s. I think he would have had 100 in that last test versus the West Indies, but for that run out with Abdullah Shafiq. And I think if he can score runs, then that just instills just a little bit more in a side that is struggling when they look up to somebody as a leader. I don't think that happened with Salman Agha. Salman Agha himself is in kind of a bit of a rut with the bat, especially as a test player. And I think if the captain starts scoring runs and that the captain is a quality batter or quality player, then I think that has an impact on the side. And so it would be very important, I think, for him to start scoring runs and be back for a start.
I think that point on the captain having to play well is really underrated because or maybe it's obvious to some people, but because I think it's also the reason why you stop being captain, and which is
Yeah.
why like there's such a short leash for captaincy where even the likes of a Misbah or whatever, like it takes so much success before your position as captain is kind of unquestioned. And in Pakistan's entire history, there's only three captains who can kind of say that, which would be Kardar, Imran, and Misbah. And like, these are no like 500 captains otherwise. So, and we have like something else that you also see is that most Pakistani players, if they become captain, tend to perform better as captain. But the question is that you're able to sustain that even during losses because like every Pakistani captain will have some crazy losses in the middle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
secondly, that once your form goes, how long do you have before you get it back? Which is the Babar dilemma when eventually he does lose his captaincy previously, is that form went away for a very long time. Otherwise, he had a really big peak. Or Abhi, that is also a corollary of why Pakistan cricket feels a little bit so hopeless right now, is that there isn't anyone even near captaincy potential First of
Hmm.
all, there isn't anyone who's been playing well, and secondly, that at least anyone with some kind of captaincy potential also playing well. And by
Yeah.
playing well, what I mean to say is keep consistently, because
Yeah.
lots of guys have put up good performances, but I feel that's the biggest issue. Like
Somebody
if
who's like a set name in your squad. Like when you put down your 11, you know he's always going to be there every match, right? You want somebody like that. And Barber has been dropped as recently as the England series.
a buzz,
They've all been dropped. Abbas has been dropped. Rizwan has not been dropped, but I'm a little worried about actually because his batting has just been going through a little bit of a patch. Salman Agha also going through a bit of a patch. Saud Shakil, who's been talked of as captain, by the way, was dropped, has only just come back. And then you don't have any other options really to look at as captain. So, you've got to he's got to be the first name on the 11 every time. Every time you put out a test team, he has to be there. Basically, like it's unquestioned that his place is there in the side. So I think he's got to get to that level. I mean, Babar still makes it. I think for all intents and purposes, I think for lack of options, also Babar makes it still to almost every test 11 that Pakistan have, and so you make him captain. But yeah, you really want him to, like you say, like start scoring runs because that will make him more secure, and eventually it will only
not just
be
him,
good
I
things
feel
for Pakistan.
it has a big effect on the rest of the team.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
like, because it's we the captain's authority comes from that.
Yep.
Like they, whatever their personality is, whatever else is going on with them, जो भी उनका management style है, वो सारी authority आती है उसी बात से है कि अगर everyone knows कि this guy is going to be captain for a while, and I know they're going
Yeah.
to be captain for a
Yeah.
while because they're in form, and it shouldn't be like that. It's not. It creates a very toxic situation. It's not sustainable, XYZ. But reality यही है कि unless we, as I said, like you're one in like 2 3 generations of Pakistan cricket,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
anomalies, no one else comes like that. We have, I think, near the end of our allotted time, but
Yes,
एक और
we are.
चीज जो मुझे दिमाग में आ रही
Hmm.
थी, and it's small enough, is is that like when Ain Chapel says this is the worst XYZ team, blah blah, तो पहली बात तो ये कि एन चैपल चाहे वो उसकी अपने भाई की भी टीम हो उसको भी इसी तरीके से लताड़ेगा. आई हैव टू गिव हिम दैट. He's
That's the best thing
consistently,
about him. That's the
yeah,
best thing
he's
about him.
that you have to. But the other thing is it's Australia, right? So like we Bangladesh did what they did, but they had this crazy return to this. England इतने ऊपर से आते हुए, they've really kind of like it's nothing to do with Pakistan, but the kind
Yeah.
of bar they've set up, and maybe Pakistan is not the one that ends up making them with egg on their faces, but this
Yeah.
this kind of accumulation of negative karma, this kind of
Will come. The
unearned.
Ashes is only a year away. The
भाई वो
Ashes is
पूरी
only
क्या
a
कहते
year
हैं,
away.
लाइक कि जो ग्रीक ट्रेजेडीज में जो ह्यूब्रिस होता है ना, कि मतलब ठीक है, it's like Pakistan is this like wounded animal and you decide to go start kicking it and being like, ah, I'm so
Poking it.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know if you should be doing that, man. Like I don't know if you.
So the crazy thing, and I think we end on this, is that I don't know if you saw the tweet from Atif Mia. Atif Mia, for listeners and readers, is a leading Pakistani American economist. I think he is American
Yeah.
also, based in America, leading economist. He put out this tweet, which lots of people have engaged with, which is a kind of chart. I'm not quite sure of what system of metric they have used, but basically this chart, it's a line graph and it shows how Pakistan go up and down, up and down, up and down over the course of their history. And he was making the point that they are at their lowest kind of score that they have been for a while, which is, I've made that argument a few months ago. I said that Pakistan are at their lowest ebb in cricket. There's absolutely no doubt about that since the 60s. But anyway, so he's put this chart. But later, I think whether it was him or whether it was somebody else, I'm not sure, but somebody else, or maybe it was him, but another chart emerged with other teams' performances. So I think he compared them with England, Australia, and India. And Australia was the only one that was kind of above this line of excellence, and India was like a line that was rising steadily with a few dips and stuff. But England's like up and down. It's crazy. It was almost exactly like Pakistan's. And I was like, wow, man. They've had some pretty bad times. So I guess ultimately, as we say goodbye on this first episode, what I'm saying is, like, just keep some perspective, Pakistani fans. Like, we've been to worse places, I think, before. We are in a bad place right now, and yeah, that's about the only silver lining I can give, actually. Ahmed, if you've got something more silver than this, silverier
No,
than this,
that's what I
then
feel,
please give
right?
it.
Like
But
we're I think it's really great that this graphs like this exist, and people are able to kind of display that in a rational way. But we like it instinctively, if you're a Pakistani fan, you know this. You know that even the day you win a title, the next day you're still freaking out in a match against Holland or someone. like there is, I think, something really beautiful about the fact that there is an ability to continue to surprise. But I think over the last few years, like, and the problems that are there, I think for me, it's not necessarily oh, you don't have any good players and this and that and the other. It's
no,
not
yeah,
like the
yeah.
situation was when, like, the terrorist attack meant you're not playing in Pakistan.
Hmm.
But in so many ways, it's definitely, like, for all the time that I've been associated with it, that I've been looked at analytically, it's in a really
Yeah,
terrible place because it's
yeah.
completely apathetic. मतलब
Hmm.
वो किसी को फर्क नहीं पड़
Neglected
रहा है.
almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's this belief that, like, cricket is like immune to all problems, of वो
Hmm.
खुद ही golden goose essentially, and
Hmm.
you're
Yeah.
watching that golden goose get, like, murdered and be destroyed. तो उस sense में,
No,
that's where I
animals were
think that
harmed in the recording of this podcast.
yeah, and I feel that's where, like the silver lining actually is, as I keep saying, any, even a great Pakistani side can lose like they did at Headingley. I think what's really more worrying
That's
is
true.
that these were the same guys like 8 years ago, and they won a test match here. They might win another one, but, like, just the way the sport is being run right now, and has been for a few years now, that's kind of makes it really difficult for anything positive to come out. But we have the graph is probably going to turn around at some point. And that'll probably happen the day after we end this episode, this podcast. Okay. अब अब हम retire कर रहे हैं.
We
Thanks,
are the
guys.
hex. We are the
Agree. Yeah,
hex.
exactly. 100%. 100%. But anyways, that is Batta Fast, on our new platform, Cricinfo. Please like and subscribe, or whatever. Osman and I will see you again in 2 weeks, celebrating some insane story about Pakistan cricket. Till then, take care. Bye bye.
एकदम इन्होंने वक्त बदल दिया जज्बात बदल दिए जिंदगी बदल